My mother tried to yank my engagement ring off my swollen finger at Christmas dinner and hissed, "You feminist brat, you've ruined everything I taught you." When my fiance asked her to stop, she shouted, "You destroyed my daughter. She was supposed to be pure." I didn't respond. That was 8 months ago. This morning, she was pleading to take back everything she'd done. My mom is the most old-fashioned person I've ever known. Ever since my sister Elena and I were kids, she made us rehearse being flawless wives every single day. We had to walk around the house, balancing books on our heads while carrying trays of food. If we spilled even a drop, we had to scrub the entire kitchen mirror with a toothbrush. At bedtime, we practiced lines like, "Whatever you think is best, honey," and "I'm sorry for speaking out of turn." I always felt uncomfortable doing it, but Elena became Mom's perfect trainee. By 15, she was ironing her boyfriend Derek's shirts every morning before school and packing his lunches with little notes that said things like, "I exist to make you happy." Instead of worrying that her teenage daughter was acting like a 1950s servant, Mom rewarded her with a $300 KitchenAid mixer. Even though I hated the role my mom wanted for me, I still craved her approval. So I poured everything into school. I joined activities, built strong friendships, and became every teacher's favorite. When I got accepted into Northwestern's business school, she was the first person I told. "Congrats, honey, but I wish you put this much effort into finding a nice boy to take care of," she said before tossing my acceptance letter into the trash. The breaking point came a week later. I came home and saw Elena with a black eye, poorly hidden with concealer. When I tried to talk to her, she laughed. "Oh, Derek just gets a little carried away sometimes. It's actually sweet. It means he loves me so much he can't control himself." That's when I realized I'd lost her. Still, if that's what my mom valued, I decided to at least try to win her approval. That summer before moving out, I dated the worst guy I could find just to earn one approving nod. My boyfriend Tyrone checked my phone, said my friends were bad influences, and made me share my location 24/7. I knew it wasn't healthy, but when I brought him home for Independence Day, my mom's face lit up. She hugged me for the first time in 3 years. 4 years later, I graduated with a degree in finance. I'd been in therapy for months and met an incredible partner named James. As the oldest brother to 3 younger sisters, he treated me with respect. He listened when I spoke, made me laugh, and planned thoughtful dates. So, when Christmas came around, I felt hopeful. Maybe my family would finally see how happy I was. James kept assuring me everything would be fine, that my mom would like him. For a moment, I believed it. When I knocked on the door, I felt more confident than ever. But Alina opened it, and she looked like a shadow of herself. Bruises covered poorly with cheap concealer. She walked with a slight limp. My heart broke, and maybe hers did too, because when she saw James help me with my coat, she gasped, "Mia, you're emasculating him in public." James politely introduced himself and mentioned how proud he was of my promotion. My mom's fake smile instantly turned to anger. "A real man doesn't let his woman outshine him," she muttered, gripping my wrist so tightly it left marks. Then she noticed my engagement ring. "You feminist brat! You've destroyed everything I taught you," she screamed, trying to rip it off my finger. Elena grabbed my shoulders to hold me still while Mom pulled harder and harder. My fingers started turning purple. James immediately called 911 and tried to separate them. I assumed my parents would realize they were assaulting me. They didn't. My mom grabbed a kitchen knife and lunged at James. "You destroyed my daughter. She was supposed to be pure." My finger felt like it was being torn apart, and I couldn't stop screaming. Thankfully, the police arrived quickly. Paramedics confirmed my finger was dislocated and deeply cut from the ring being forced off. When the shock wore off, anger replaced it. My mom kept calling. James apologized for embarrassing me and even asked if I was sure I still wanted him. But everything around me felt distant. I was going to build a life with James, and I was going to make my family step back. And I did. I blocked every number, Mom, Elena, even distant relatives who might pass along messages. James helped me change passwords and create new email accounts. My hands trembled as I deleted years of photos, but each one felt like cutting a rope that had been tightening around me. The first week was silent, almost unsettling. I buried myself in work, staying late to avoid replaying what happened. My finger still throbbed where the ring had been forced off, so James bought a simple chain for me to wear it until the swelling faded. When coworkers asked about the bandage, I said it was a kitchen accident and moved on. Then, on Thursday morning, my boss, McCatherine, called me into her office. She looked uneasy. "Mia, I received a concerning call about you yesterday. Your mother claims you stole family heirlooms worth thousands." My stomach dropped. "That's not true. I haven't taken anything." "She also mentioned you might be dealing with mental health issues, said you've been acting erratically and that your boyfriend is controlling you." McCatherine leaned back, studying me. "I've worked with you for 2 years. This doesn't sound like you, but I had to ask." With shaking hands, I showed her the police report from Christmas, the assault, the dislocated finger, the knife. I explained I was seeking a restraining order and that my mom was retaliating because I cut contact. McCatherine's expression softened. "I'm sorry you're going through this, but she called 3 times yesterday. My assistant took 2 more calls this morning. If this continues, it could affect your promotion review." I left feeling sick. 3 years of 60-hour weeks, flawless presentations, and new clients, threatened by a few phone calls. James was waiting in the parking lot with coffee and my favorite sandwich. He'd started showing up whenever he sensed I'd need support. "How bad?" he asked as I got in. "She's calling my office, accusing me of theft and instability. McCatherine believes me for now, but if it continues..." "We're filing harassment charges today," James said firmly. "My sister Ashley works at a law firm. She'll help us with the paperwork." Ashley was exactly who we needed. Sharp, practical, and direct. That evening at her kitchen table, she spread out forms and set up a recorder. "Document everything. Every call, every attempt, every lie. We're creating a record." I spent hours listing dates and incidents while Ashley organized files. James sat beside me, squeezing my shoulder when my hand cramped. By the end, we had 20 pages detailing years of behavior. "This clearly shows escalation," Ashley said. "We'll file tomorrow." But my mother escalated faster than paperwork. Saturday morning, loud pounding shook our apartment door. James checked the peephole and pulled me back. "Stay here. It's the police." I heard muffled voices. "No, she's not being held against her will." "This is harassment," James said firmly. I stepped out to see 2 officers inside. The older one looked exhausted. "Ma'am, we received a report that you're being held hostage by your boyfriend. Your mother says he's abusing you." "She's lying," I replied steadily. I showed them the police report, photos of my injured hand, and our documentation. The officers exchanged looks. "Third wellness check this week that turned out to be family drama," the younger officer sighed. "You should consider a restraining order." "We're in the process," James answered. After they left, I couldn't stop shaking. James made tea while I sat wrapped in a blanket his grandmother had made. "She told our neighbors he's abusing me," I whispered. Mrs. Chen had been watching through her door when the police arrived. The next few days blurred, more calls to work, more police visits. My mother had apparently convinced some neighbors that I was trapped by a controlling partner. Mrs. Chen avoided me. The man from 3B asked James if everything was all right at home, looking ready to intervene. Then Elena started calling, James's phone, since I'd blocked her. He played the voicemails quietly. "Mia, this is your fault. Derek left me. He said our family is too much drama. You ruined everything. If you had just played along, none of this would have happened." Her voice sounded slurred. "You think you're better than us with your degree and your feminist boyfriend. You'll end up alone, just like me. Derek was the only man who loved me, and you drove him away." I wanted to tell her Derek was abusive and that she deserved better, but she'd chosen her path long ago. We filed harassment charges on Tuesday. Ashley guided us through each step. The courthouse clerk glanced at our stack of evidence and nodded. "This is thorough. Good job, other departments." She told accounting you embezzled funds. She told HR you're selling substances in the parking lot. She even contacted our largest client, claiming you were stealing their data. I sank into the chair, feeling like the ground had disappeared beneath me. "I'm so sorry. I've filed harassment charges. I'm trying to stop her." "I know. I've spoken to legal, and they're aware," McCatherine said carefully. "But the promotion committee meets next week. This level of disruption, even though it's not your fault, doesn't reflect well." I left work early and sat in my car in the parking lot trying not to cry. 3 years of effort about to collapse because my mother couldn't accept that I chose a different path. When I got home, James was on the phone with Ashley. His expression was tense. "She's telling people in your hometown that you joined a cult. My mom just got a call from her hairdresser asking if it's true that I'm some cult leader who brainwashed you." I laughed, but it sounded strained. "A cult? That's her explanation for me refusing to be mistreated?" "Apparently feminism is the cult," Ashley said on speaker. "She's claiming you were indoctrinated in college and that James is controlling you." The calls kept coming and the stories grew more extreme. My mother said I was abusing substances, pregnant with another man's child, and being forced into prostitution. Each claim was more outrageous than the last. But people listened. They often do when a distressed mother says her daughter is in danger. My promotion review was postponed indefinitely. McCatherine tried to remain supportive, but I saw the tension each time my mother's calls interrupted the office. Security began screening incoming calls. The receptionist learned to recognize my mother's voice and disconnect immediately. Then came wedding planning. James and I chose a simple courthouse ceremony. After everything with my family, a large event felt risky. We selected a date 3 months away, quietly filed the paperwork, and told only his sisters and a few close friends. Somehow, my mother found out. Ashley called while I was at work, her voice tight. "Does your mother have a cousin at City Hall? Someone just told her about your marriage license application." My blood ran cold. "Cousin Thon? He works in records." "Well, Cousin Thon just became part of the problem. She knows your wedding date, time, and location." James picked me up immediately, and we drove to the courthouse to see if we could change it. The clerk shook her head. "You'd have to reapply, pay new fees, wait 3 days. If someone's monitoring records, they'll find the new date too." We sat in the lobby considering options. Eloping to Vegas felt like avoidance. Hiring security for a courthouse wedding felt excessive. But what alternative did we have? "We stick to the plan," James said. "If she shows up and causes a scene, it strengthens the restraining order case." But I knew my mother. Attention was exactly what she wanted. The weeks leading up to the wedding were exhausting. Police visits increased. My mother perfected her concerned parent act, visiting our apartment complex at all hours, telling neighbors I was in danger. The property manager began sending us disturbance warnings. Elena's voicemails grew harsher. "Derek's brother Brandon is single. Mom thinks he'd be perfect for you, a real man who knows how to keep a woman in line. Not like the one you're with." I played the message for Ashley during one legal session. She shook her head. "Save everything. The judge needs to hear how they speak about you." Work became my only distraction, but even that changed. I noticed whispers, sympathetic glances when coworkers thought I wasn't looking. My mother had called so often that everyone knew something was wrong. I became the girl with the dramatic family. 2 weeks before the wedding, James' parents offered their home temporarily. "You both look exhausted," his mother, Catherine, said gently. We packed essentials and moved into their guest room. It felt like retreating, but at least police couldn't conduct wellness checks there. At least my mother couldn't knock on the door at 3 a.m. Still, she found new tactics. My work email was flooded with responses to job applications I had never submitted. Apparently, I had applied to multiple adult entertainment venues across the city. The emails were explicit, asking about experience and availability. IT traced the applications to an IP address registered to my childhood home. "You might want to update all passwords again," the technician said quietly. James helped secure everything: new credentials, two-factor authentication, updated security questions, but the damage lingered. Colleagues viewed me differently, questioning how someone attracts that level of chaos. A week before the wedding, McCatherine called me in again. "I'll be honest, the promotion is off the table for now. Not because of your performance, but because the board sees the situation as too disruptive. Maybe next year." I nodded silently. 3 years of work paused because my mother refused to accept that I wouldn't tolerate abuse. That night, I cried in James's arms. His sisters surrounded us, Ashley reviewing documents while the youngest Victoria made constant cups of tea. They had become the family I'd always wanted: supportive, steady, kind. "We can postpone the wedding," James suggested softly. Wait until the restraining order is finalized. No, I said, wiping my face. She's already taken my promotion. She's not taking this too. The morning of our wedding was gray and drizzly. Ashley arranged for courthouse security to stay alert. James' parents and sisters were our only guests. We arrived early, passed through security, and waited outside our assigned courtroom. For 20 minutes, nothing happened, just us and the people who genuinely supported us. Then the doors opened abruptly. My mother entered wearing her best church dress. Elena followed, unsteady, along with a man I assumed was Brandon. He resembled Derek, but less severe. "Stop this immediately," my mother announced. "My daughter is not thinking clearly." Security approached, but my mother reached me first, gripping my arm. "Mia, this isn't you. This man has influenced you. Brandon is willing to forgive everything and guide you properly." Brandon stepped forward with a rehearsed smile. "Hi, Mia. I've heard so much about you. I believe we could build something strong. I know how to handle a strong-willed woman." James stepped between us calmly. "Let go of her. You're not man enough for her," my mother snapped. "You let her work. You let her think she's equal. Brandon understands a woman's role." Security intervened, pulling her back as she shouted about brainwashing, cults, and feminism destroying families. Elena added slurred comments about proper wives. "Ma'am, you need to leave," a guard said firmly. "I'll contest this marriage. She's mentally incompetent," my mother yelled as they escorted her out. The judge, who had observed everything, asked, "Would you like a few minutes?" "No," I replied steadily. "We'd like to proceed." The ceremony was brief. James's family wiped away tears as we exchanged rings, the same rings my mother had tried to remove. When the judge declared us married, I felt a sense of release, not broken, free. As we exited the courtroom, Ashley's phone rang. Her expression changed. "Your mother just filed paperwork seeking power of attorney over you. She claims you're mentally incompetent due to ideology." "Strengthens our position," McCatherine continued, pulling out additional forms. "We're filing for an emergency restraining order based on the courthouse incident and the workplace harassment. The power of attorney attempt shows clear escalation." We spent 3 hours in her office signing paperwork and submitting evidence. The retainer fee made me wince. Half of the savings we had set aside for our honeymoon disappeared in a single payment. But I didn't have another option. That afternoon, I returned to work and found McCatherine waiting by my desk. My stomach tightened. Had my mother called again? "Mia, we need to discuss yesterday," she said, though her tone was gentler than I expected. "IT completed their investigation. Your mother submitted those inappropriate job applications from her home computer. We're pressing charges for identity theft and cyber harassment." Relief washed over me. "Thank you. I'm sorry for all the disruption." "Stop apologizing," she said firmly. "You're being stalked and harassed. HR is implementing new security protocols. Your mother and sister are banned from the premises. If they appear, security will contact the police immediately." But my mother was always ahead. 3 days later, I was presenting quarterly reports to our largest client when the conference room door opened abruptly. My mother stood there in her Sunday dress, Elena beside her, looking drained and anxious. "There she is," my mother announced. "My daughter, brainwashed by feminists. We're here to help you." The two clients, older men in tailored suits, stared in disbelief. I froze, the presentation remote slipping from my hand. "Mia needs intervention," Elena added, her words slightly slurred. "She's been turned against her family, against God's plan." Security arrived within minutes, but the damage was done. My mother managed to shout about my supposed mental instability before being escorted out. Elena followed, crying that I had ruined her life. The clients left shortly after. The $2 million contract left with them. McCatherine found me in the restroom 20 minutes later, shaking. They called. They're withdrawing the account. They said they can't partner with a company that has security concerns. I wanted to confront my mother directly, to demand she understand the consequences. Instead, I sat on the bathroom floor, feeling my career unravel. "Take the rest of the week off," McCatherine said quietly. "We'll reassess." But there was little to reassess. My mother had cost the company a major client. No matter how supportive McCatherine tried to be, I understood what it meant. James picked me up, his expression serious. "Ashley called. The restraining order was approved. Your mother and Elena must stay 500 feet away from you, your home, and your workplace. It felt like limited comfort when my workplace might not want me anymore. The restraining order didn't stop my mother, it redirected her. Unable to approach me, she targeted people around me. The next day, James' elderly landlord, Mrs. Richardson, called. "Your mother is very concerned," she said kindly. "She believes you're in danger." She explained how that man is isolating you. "She's lying," I replied. "We have a restraining order because she attacked us." Mrs. Richardson sounded confused but sympathetic. "She showed me childhood photos of you. She said she just wants her baby back." James spent an hour clarifying the situation, but doubt lingered. Each time we saw Mrs. Richardson afterward, she looked at us with concern. Then came the honeymoon disruption. We had scaled down our plans, no tropical trip, just a quiet cabin 2 hours north. We needed peace. One night in, the police arrived. "We received a kidnapping report," an officer said. "A woman named Mia being held against her will." I stood there in pajamas, wedding ring visible. "I'm Mia. This is my husband. We're here voluntarily." They separated us for questioning. Was I safe? Did I need assistance? Was I being coerced? James sat in a patrol car while they ran his background. "My mother filed a false report," I explained repeatedly. "We have a restraining order." Eventually, after reviewing court documents on my phone, the officers understood. But our honeymoon evening was spent giving statements instead of celebrating. "I can't keep living like this," I told James afterward. "She'll never stop." "She will," he said firmly. "We'll make sure of it." The following week, the situation shifted online. Elena, who had rarely used social media before, I began posting constantly. Photos of Brandon with captions praising traditional values, posts warning about feminism, requests for prayers for her lost sister. My phone filled with messages from acquaintances asking if I was safe, distant relatives offering spiritual advice. Each notification felt invasive. Then Brandon began appearing in public spaces we frequented. At our coffee shop, seated nearby with a newspaper. At the grocery store, in the next aisle. At the park during our walks. "He's not technically violating the restraining order," Ashley explained. "He isn't approaching you or making contact. Document everything unless he escalates." Living with that level of monitoring was exhausting. We changed routines, tried new routes, but Brandon still appeared. My mother had found someone else to act on her behalf. The breaking point came when I accessed my old email account, the one she had used for the job applications. In the sent folder were hundreds of messages, fake resignation letters to my employer, inflammatory notes to professional contacts, accusations sent to college professors claiming I had cheated. "She's been doing this for weeks," I told James. "Maybe months. She even emailed my internship supervisor from 3 years ago accusing me of theft." Years of professional credibility undermined by my own parent. Ashley documented everything for the criminal case: identity theft, cyber harassment, defamation. The list of charges grew, but my mother still believed she was protecting me. The preliminary hearing was chaotic. My mother arrived with members of her church wearing matching shirts with Bible verses about honoring parents. Alina sat in front with Brandon, both glaring at me. "My daughter has been brainwashed," my mother told the judge tearfully. "That man has filled her head with feminist ideology. She needs intervention." My therapist testified, confirming my mental stability and explaining the family trauma I had endured. My mother laughed during the testimony. "They're part of the same agenda," she said loudly. The judge called for order multiple times. When Alina testified, she struggled to stay focused. She rambled about how I had ruined her life because Derek left. "He said our family was too dramatic," she muttered. "It made him look bad at work. But it's Mia's fault. If she'd just behaved properly." During cross-examination, Ashley asked, "When did Derek say your family was too dramatic?" "After Mom called his work," Elena replied without thinking. "She wanted to tell his boss how good of a girlfriend I was, but they said she was crazy." She stopped mid-sentence. The realization was clear. My mother had sabotaged Alina's relationship too. The difference was that Derek left while James stayed. "How often did your mother contact his workplace?" Ashley pressed. "A lot," Elena admitted, beginning to cry. "She said she was helping. He got fired. He left because of her." The courtroom grew loud. My mother shouting, church members praying. The judge eventually restored order. "I've heard enough," he said. "The restraining order is extended for 2 years. Criminal proceedings will continue." He looked directly at my mother. I strongly advise you to seek professional counseling. I don't need help, she yelled as officers escorted her out. My daughters do. Elena remained seated after the room cleared. James stood beside me as I approached. He hurt me because he was stressed, she said quietly. And Mom kept calling his job. She made it worse. She got him fired. She destroyed my life too. It's not too late, I told her. You can start over. She looked uncertain. I don't know how. She trained us our whole lives. We arranged therapy for Elena that same week with my therapist. It was a beginning. My mother escalated once more. I returned from a job interview. McCatherine had provided a strong reference to find our apartment door slightly open. James was still at work. Inside, the damage was deliberate. Every professional outfit I owned had been cut apart and scattered across the bedroom. Suits sliced into strips, blouses torn, each item pinned with a Bible verse about obedience and submission. But it was a message written in lipstick on the mirror was what finally broke me. I brought you into this world. I can take you out of it. Security footage showed my mother using Elena's spare key, the one I had forgotten she still had. She spent 2 full hours carefully destroying everything connected to my professional life. This is evidence, the detective said while photographing the damage. With a death threat and breaking and entering, she was facing serious jail time. But I didn't feel any sense of victory. I sat in the middle of my ruined wardrobe, holding what was left of my favorite interview suit, and felt nothing but exhaustion. James found me about an hour later. He didn't speak. He just sat beside me and held me while I cried. His sisters arrived soon after. Ashley came with legal paperwork. Victoria brought tea and cookies. Jenny showed up with bags of clothes from her own closet. James' mother arrived with homemade soup. We're your family now, Catherine said firmly. That woman gave birth to you, but she's not your mother anymore. The trial was scheduled for 3 months later. My mother was released on bail under strict conditions. No contact, no coming within 1,000 feet, no internet access. Still, I knew it wasn't truly over. Elena moved in with us temporarily while she tried to rebuild her life. She began therapy twice a week and worked on staying sober. Some days were calm. Other days she lashed out, accusing me of ruining everything. Then there were days she cried and apologized for helping our mother hurt me. I see it now, she said one evening as we sat curled up on the couch with tea. The training, the control, it wasn't love. It never was. No, I agreed. It wasn't. My career slowly began to recover. A smaller firm hired me after Catherine's reference explained the situation clearly. It wasn't the promotion I had worked toward, but it was a new beginning. James and I moved into a secure building with cameras and a doorman. We changed our phone numbers, deleted social media, and created new routines. We built protection around our lives, guarding the peace we had fought hard to regain. Yet trauma lingers. Some nights I woke up convinced I heard pounding at the door. Sometimes I saw a woman in a store who resembled my mother and had to abandon my cart and leave. She trained us to be victims. Elena said during one of her clearer therapy periods. When you refused, she couldn't accept it. As the trial date approached, I prepared for one final confrontation. My mother had tried to control me, break me, and destroy what I built. I was bruised and tired, but I was still standing. The day arrived faster than expected. 3 months of preparation, therapy, and sleepless nights led to that courtroom. I wore one of Jenny's suits, navy blue and professional, and nothing like the clothes my mother had shredded. Elena sat beside us on the prosecution side, hands tightly folded. She looked healthier, but her eyes kept shifting toward the defense table. The courtroom filled quickly. My mother's church group occupied several rows, their matching prayer shawls blending into a sea of beige. Brandon sat among them, wearing that unsettling smile whenever our eyes met. My mother entered with her attorney, dressed simply in black. She had lost weight. Her face looked hollow. When she saw Elena sitting with me, her expression hardened. The prosecutor, a direct and methodical woman named Johnny, presented the case clearly. The Christmas assault, workplace harassment, false reports, the break-in, and property destruction. Every charge was supported by documents, footage, and testimony. Catherine testified about the lost client, the constant disruptions, and the operational damage. She remained factual and composed, though the frustration showed when she described the $2 million contract that fell through. Mrs. Richardson testified next. She explained how my mother approached her repeatedly, crying about her kidnapped daughter. The elderly woman seemed confused, asking the judge if she had done something wrong by listening. Then the jury watched the security footage from my apartment. In silence, they saw my mother methodically destroy every piece of professional clothing I owned, attaching Bible verses to each ruined garment. When she wrote the death threat on the mirror, several jurors visibly recoiled. Her defense followed a predictable strategy. Her lawyer described her as a worried parent pushed too far by fear for her daughter's safety. Church members testified about her devotion. She loves her daughter deeply, one woman said. Sometimes love leads to desperate actions. But the prosecution had Elena. On the second day, my sister took the stand in a simple dress that covered the fading bruises on her arms. She spoke quietly at first, describing our childhood training, books balanced on our heads, rehearsed phrases of submission, rewards for obedience, punishment for independence. She called Derek's workplace 17 times, Elena said, her voice steadying. I checked the phone records. 17 times, telling his boss what a perfect girlfriend I was. They fired him because of the disruption. The defense tried to undermine her, suggesting confusion or manipulation by me. Elena remained firm. My mother didn't save me from Derek. She drove him away with interference, just like she's trying to ruin Mia's life. The difference is Mia found someone strong enough to stay. My mother stood abruptly, pointing at Elena. You ungrateful child. I gave you everything. I taught you how to be a proper woman. The judge called for order and warned of contempt, but the jury had already seen beyond the concerned parent image. I testified last. Johnny guided me chronologically through the events, allowing the evidence to speak. When we reached the destroyed wardrobe, I identified items from the photographs. This was my interview suit, I said, holding up the image of navy fabric cut into ribbons. I wore it to every major meeting for 3 years. And this? Johnny showed another photo. My Northwestern graduation dress. My mother didn't attend the ceremony, but I kept the dress. During cross-examination, the defense focused on my feminist beliefs and supposed rejection of family values. They portrayed me as an ungrateful daughter who chose career over family. Isn't it true you refused to date men your mother approved of? She approved of men who monitored and controlled me. So yes, I refused. And you chose career instead of starting a family? I chose both. I have a career and a loving marriage. They are not mutually exclusive. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. Elena and I waited with James and Ashley in a small room, drinking bad courthouse coffee and reacting every time the door opened. My mother's church group formed a prayer circle in the hallway until security moved them. The verdict: guilty on all counts. Criminal harassment, cyber harassment, identity theft, breaking and entering, property destruction over $5,000, and criminal threats. My mother's face went pale as the judge announced the sentence. 2 years for harassment, 18 months for breaking and entering, 1 year for property destruction, and 3 years for the death threat, served concurrently, with parole eligibility after 18 months. She was also ordered to pay restitution and abide by a 10-year restraining order upon release. They led her away in handcuffs. She didn't cry or protest. She just stared at me. The church group left slowly, some crying, others murmuring about injustice. Brandon lingered and approached. This isn't over, he said quietly. Your mother was trying to save you. Someone has to continue her work. That sounds like a threat, Ashley replied, already reaching for her phone. Would you like to repeat it for the police? He backed away, his confidence fading. The following weeks felt unreal. My mother was gone. No more wellness checks. No more calls to my workplace. No more constant vigilance. Elena struggled with guilt. Some days she regretted testifying. Other days she expressed anger at years of manipulation. Her therapist increased sessions to 3 times a week. I don't know who I am without her voice in my head, she admitted. Every decision feels wrong. Work gradually stabilized. The whispers stopped. The pity faded. Catherine mentioned that the next promotion cycle looked promising, though we both knew rebuilding would take time. James' family fully embraced us. Sunday dinners became routine. His sisters included Elena in everything, showing her that family could mean support rather than control. 6 months into my mother's sentence, I received a letter from prison. My hands shook when I saw the return address. James offered to read it, but I opened it myself. There was no apology, only Bible verses about honoring one's mother and warnings about my soul. She had found religion, she wrote. She was praying for my salvation. I burned the letter in the sink. Did you read it? Alina asked. Yes, same as always, still trying to save my soul. At least she's consistent, Alina said with a hollow laugh. A year after the trial, Elena moved into her own studio apartment. She decorated it with plants and photos of us. She enrolled in community college, considering becoming a counselor. I want to help women like us, she said, the ones who think control is love. Brandon eventually stopped after Ashley filed harassment charges. According to Alina, he found someone else to dominate. We hoped she would leave sooner than Alina had. My career continued improving. The promotion eventually came, not the original one, but meaningful nonetheless. I stopped apologizing for the disruption my family had caused. Catherine became a mentor, once telling me, "You stood up to yours. Not everyone does." James and I renewed our vows on our second anniversary, a simple ceremony with his family and close friends. Elena stood beside me as maid of honor, still healing but strong. My mother was granted parole after 18 months. We were notified through official channels. She was released to a halfway house 2 states away. The restraining order prevented her from returning to our city for 10 years. Elena panicked when we received the notice. Old fears resurfaced, but days turned into weeks, then months. No contact, no violations, silence. Maybe prison changed her, Elena said once. I doubted it. More likely, she found new people to influence, but that was no longer my responsibility. Through distant relatives, we learned she joined a new church in her halfway house city. She told them about her daughters led astray by feminism, about her attempts to save us, about persecution. Let her tell her story. She couldn't hurt us anymore.